So, what is IDE drive failure? IDE, or Integrated Drive Electronic, is an electronic interface standard that defines the connection between a bus on a computer's motherboard and the computer's disk storage devices. The IDE interface was originally based on the IBM PC industry standard architecture, 16-bit standard, but it has been implemented in computers that use other bus standards. So, what are the IDE drives used for? This allows for the connection and communication between a computer's motherboard and its storage devices. It is commonly used for connecting hard disk drives and optical disk drives to the computer system. Are all installed IDE drives properly identified by the BIOS and displayed on the startup screen? Any modern PC should be able to identify the drive by model number, brand, capacity, and usually the transfer mode. Some brand name PCs may not display a startup BIOS registration screen, so you'll have to enter SIMA setup to be the information. The computer must be able to distinguish between two IDE drives when they share a single cable. This can be done either by selection via the cable or by setting one drive to master and the other to slave. Using jumpers on the drives, a single jumper, often located on the rear of the drive between the IDE connector and the power socket, fixes the master-slave setting. Usually, the jumpers are labeled with a shorthand with M standing for master and S for slave. When the drives is the only drive mounted on the ribbon, some older drives have a jumper mark like single, along with labeling that are clearly visible. Almost all of the latest IDE drives are cable select or CS compatible, meaning that the cables in 28 connection will identify which drive is the master and which is the slave. All new motherboards and drives should include 80-wire ribbon cables with color-coded connectors. Blue is for the motherboard IDE connector, gray is for the slave IDE connector, the middle connector on the cable, and black for the master connector. So, select master slave or CS requires 80 conductor IDE cable or custom 40 wire cable. So, this show here in the picture the custom 40 wire cable, and make sure the power cord is seated in the drive's power socket, which may require some force if the drives are still not registering correctly. Moreover, the refund cable connections need to fully inserted into the IDE port on the motherboard drives or adapter card if a RAID adapter is being used. This type of cabling failure is most frequently caused by a partially dislodged connection that occurred while you were working on another project in the case. This gives a fresh ribbon cable to a drive. Although cable failures are uncommon, they do occur, and investigative writers who write about computer repair scams frequently use the tactic of purposely inserting a detective IDE cable into a computer in order to see how many parts the shop will sell them. So, dapat lagi tayong double ingat, no? Pagdating dito sa mga about sa cable. So, pwede siyang gawing scams or pagkakitaan ng mga scammers ah, sa pag-i-insert nila ng mga detective IDE cables. So, can you spin up the hard drive for clarity? I'll repeat everything we discussed in the power supply diagnostics. The hard disk motor spinning up the drive and the soft clunking sound of the read road head seeking should be audible when the computer turns on. We run the drive in our hands, even if our finger touches on the top cover. We are unable to determine whether it is spinning up, similar to gyroscope. Spun up drive resists the slow twisting movement Avoid playing with it or flipping it too quickly, as this could harm the device. And additionally, pressing the circuit against the conductor could cause a short. Simply turn off the power and replace the drive and proceed on. So here we are going to reset IDE and power cables. Replace IDE cables if in doubt. So kapag nagkaroon ng error, pwede nating i-reset yung mga IDE cables natin, yung mga power cables natin if nagkaroon ng error. So we can identify the problem, So we can also replace IDE cables if kinakailangan. Are the IDE ports and ribbon cable connectors on the motherboard and drive kit so that the cable can only go in one direction? So first of all, confirm the placement of pin 1 on each port and connector. However, it is not always the case. Pin 1 on IDE drives is typically found close to the power cord. In regards to cable ports, motherboards might be somewhat peculiar. Hard drives, CDs, DVDs, tapes, or any other IDE device that isn't detected by the BIOS can only be troubleshooted using these same steps. So proceed to the CD or DVD failure diagnostics if the installed IDE drives are appropriately registered by the BIOS and the drive you are experiencing issues with is a CD or DVD. Is there an up-down cycle in the drive? Attempt to replace the power lead with a spare or one from another drive. For troubleshooting purposes, try isolating the drive on its refund cable even if involves temporarily removing another drive. To make sure the drive isn't getting a shaky power down signal from a malfunctioning IDE, interface, or an add power management system, consider unplugging the ribbon connector if neither solution resolves the issue. The drive is most likely toast if it continues to cycle up and down. Before declaring the drive, that test it in a different system. Does the BIOS accurately report the UTMA 100 or ATA66 transfer mode? CMOS must have UDMA enabled or configured to auto in order to transfer data in high speeds. So the ATY ribbon cable is necessary for all modern ID hard drives, at least for high school operation, although the automatic settings should use the faster speed transfers. You can check CMOS setup to see if there is a manual override. Additionally, try and use the primary controller to isolate the hard disk. As the only device, even with a new cable, it's possible that the motherboard or BIOS of an older system won't support the faster transfer when you install a new hard drive. So, flashing the BIOS to try to increase the speed would be risky for us or me, even if the motherboard manufacturer supplies in it. Can you install operating system or access the drive with any generation of FDISK to create or view partitions? Check again that the ribbon cable is fully and evenly seated and there are any read-only jumpers on set on the drive. It is normally only found on SCSI. Try a new ribbon cable. If this doesn't do it, it sounds like either the drive's MBR is messed up or there's a problem with the way the software is communicating with the BIOS, which really shouldn't happen. If you don't mind losing whatever info is on the drive, you can try FDISK MBR and see if it helps. First of all, what is IDE drive failure? It occurs when an integrated drive electronics or hard disk drive malfunctions, making it inaccessible. IDE is an older standard for connecting storage devices to a computer. So, what are the signs of IDE drive failure? Strange noises like clicking or whirring, overheating computer, corrupted data files or folders, frequent error messages, system crashes, blue screen of death, and failure to boot the system. Are we be able to learn or how to fix Ide Drive Failure? First one is you're going to check for loose cables, especially the power cable. You can also run built-in diagnostic tests. Yeah, use a hard drive analysis tab or replace the drive. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something.